Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, as you can see by the title, this isn't clickbait. Frank is receiving a rework with the next update, so we don't know whether that's going to be the next balance change update, which should be happening in and around now, especially since the competitive monthly finals have finished. We knew that the balance changes weren't going to drop before then, but then also, again, it could be in a month's time when the update is. We don't know what the rework is, but Frank himself was the one to announce this during South Korea, the South Korea visit, which a bunch of the dev team are in South Korea right now. There's a big event going on with, I forgot what it was actually called, but it's in like a shopping mall. It looks insane. I'll leave a few links to it in the description if you really want to see it. I've seen it all over Twitter at the moment, but he did announce it, so you can see here on Reddit. I've seen a few posts already from a few people, and then we also kind of knew this was coming. We've seen Adrian on Twitter said that in the future they want to rework him because a lot of his kit is overtuned a little bit. So of course, probably in terms of the HP, that is overtuned a bit too much, right? We know Frank is a beefy boy, but he has a lot of HP. Probably something during the rework, he might get like a HP nerf to compensate for some additional boosts to his kit overall. So again, we're going to take a look at the official source itself. I'll play it here and I'll shut my mouth for a second.
Frank will get a rework for the next update.
So you can see this cool event, right? It's Showdown in Starfield. This is what's happening. You see like the Edgar, you see I think that's the Fang. It looks insane, by the way, so you definitely want to take a look at this if you can. But literally Frank himself, again, I'll play it just so you guys know.
Frank will get a rework for the next update.
Literally says it. Frank will get a rework in the next update, and you can see Frank there on the right, which is pretty insane. So there's a lot to really talk about here. There's like so many things that this could be, so I wanted to bring this up. So this is on the Brawl Stars wiki with Frank, and you can see all of the changes and all the previous balance changes with Frank in the past whatever. So the only changes that there's been Frank recently is to his star power sponge. It's got an increase in like 160 HP, which is hilarious. And the only thing that's kind of changed is the scaling. It's been literally nearly 3 years since he's received any proper buff in the balance changes, which is just bizarre to me. I don't know why it's taken him so long to rework Frank. It's been an obvious problem with him, right? There's been other brawlers that have received reworks and loves very quickly, and Frank's just been forgotten about. Maybe because the thing about Frank you've got to be careful of is that low level trophies, and just for the casuals he seems pretty broken, and then obviously for the competitive he's terrible. So we need to figure out a way to not make him really broken at the low level. So you can see the last change was with the noise cancellation, is that it didn't affect El Primo's gadget, which is hilarious. I completely forgot about that. And then also they changed his irresistible attraction, so it deals the damage. So I actually wanted to rewind when Frank was last meta, because it's actually pretty interesting, the history of Frank. Maybe I just need to do a video on this. So the last time Frank was even meta, I mean, he's received quite a few health buffs over a large time, right? You can see here we've got a damage buff, a super damage buff, a HP buff, a HP buff, a HP buff. That's where the meme comes from, that Frank just gets HP buffs, because he's got so many. Another health buff there. It's actually hilarious. So the last time, if you're wondering, when Frank was actually meta was this brief period here from the 31st of August 2018. The whole month. That's probably the only time Frank has actually been a meta brawler since his release, and ever since he's just not really been good. I mean, he's like, he used to be a bit usable back in like 2019, 2020. There was always a little bit of a place for him, but that was the time where he was probably the best brawler inside of a game, when they increased his main attack range from 6.33 tiles. I remember this. He used to be an absolute menace back in the beta days. So I wanted to quickly show you some gameplay as well. This is back on this is Kairos' channel. Again, I'll leave a link to this, and literally in the title it says Frank OP, and you can see by this range, I'll put it in full screen for you guys right here. You'll see by its attack range and its super range, it was insane. You could just snipe people across the map. Of course, you've got to bear in mind that just look at the way Brawl Stars is, right? Like, there wasn't many like chuking going on. You pretty much was just running at each other. So of course Frank's hammer could just easily hit everything. He was able to just bully his way through the map, and there was nothing that could counter him. There was only like a few brawlers, you know, no gadgets in the game. So of course Frank was going to be good, but now he is obviously outclassed with all of the new brawlers coming out. There's just so many things that cancel Frank's super and whatever else. So I just quickly wanted to go through this as well. So everyone's asking about when Red King Frank's coming out. Well, just any King Frank's coming out. It's been a long time. I think it's got to be like 5 months since they announced it, and it's such a cool skin. skin. It looks like it's a legendary skin, but my guess is that there's some complications. I think it was going to be only available for the Supercell store, what I can remember. But there's been some complications. But maybe my theory is that this will actually come out with the rework and then the hypercharge as well. So you can see here, there was some Reddit posts a month ago when the Brawl talk happened. You can see there is another screenshot, but basically right here, there's a hypercharge mark on Frank. It might not mean that he's getting a hypercharge, but there's a lot of speculation going on throughout the community. Again, they might be waiting for this rework and then giving him a hypercharge, giving him a flashy new skin. That would make sense, right? I think they've done that with a few other brawlers in the past. But you can see here, there's a hypercharge icon leaning to a lot of theories going down that Frank might be getting a hypercharge. You also see it on Barley as well, but that's a whole nother story. That'll be nice. These unloved brawlers, especially ones that are kind of getting a little bit outclassed with all these different throwers, you know, think of Larry and Laurie, even Willow, for example, a lot of times outclass Barley, and of course Frank as well. He's outclassed by pretty much every single tank because of his attack delay. So again, this guy was saying, what if King Frank will become a hypercharge skin? That is a pretty interesting theory. I kind of highly doubt that. That might be a cool theory, but at the same time, I don't know how that would work with the hypercharge skin with Frank. Maybe he grows a mustache when he goes into hypercharge. I don't know. I mean, it is an interesting concept. So here's a few rework ideas which I really like. The first one, I was just looking on Reddit for the most likes, and it's actually quite fitting here. 15 days ago, we could see Mean Responsibility 66 came up with this post. So Frank rework. So the main attack, shoot animation, delay reduction from 1 second to 0.7 seconds. So this is probably the perfect change I'm hoping for. Anyways, I've always said if it just needs to reduce the attack delay, it's as simple as that, because in Brawl Stars in the past, you know, shooting while standing still, it wasn't the biggest thing ever because of the skill cap and just the way the game was. But as time has gone on, the game's developed, and that's just such an outdated mechanic. Just, he's fundamentally flawed because you have to stand still and shoot. For that brief amount of time, it just allows you to get hit by literally everything, and it's just not something you want. Whenever you stand still in Brawl Stars, it's just terrible. You think of like Lou's ice block gadget, and there's a few other things in the game where if you stand still, you know, Sandy's sleep simulator gadget, it's just not great. You want to always be on the move on Brawl Stars. You see Sponge gets removed as well. We see don't mess with the DJ. I'm not too sure how I really feel about this star power, but maybe something along the lines of, you know, helping Frank out if his super gets cancelled, or just giving some love. Also, a good note that they could be giving him a mythic gear as well. That'd be a good way to buff some brawlers. But a mythic gear, yeah, it's typically to do with a super, so again, reducing the delay by 15%, which again is a pretty decent idea. It could make Frank a little bit too strong though. We've got the hypercharge stats as well, which is pretty good. And then the hypercharge itself, when Frank is using his super, it will be immune to damage and negative effects. I don't know how to feel about that, because that would make Frank way too strong. Imagine that. But it is a good idea with the hypercharge. We've got another post right here, so I'm not too, this one got a lot of likes. I don't know how to really feel about this one. This was like the most liked rework when I searched on Reddit. But instead of standing still, he jumps 2 tiles. I don't know how to really feel about that. A lot of people were kind of debating it in the comments. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it might actually make him worse against like brawlers like Edgar, Mortis, you know, that are literally on top of him. If he jumps forward, I'm not too really sure what's like, how is he going to defeat brawlers that are on top of him? That's basically what I'm coming at. But I mean, it's a good idea. A lot of people obviously agree with this one. You'll have to let me know down in the comment section. And then the last one that I could find is like this wind up cancel. I like this idea, to be fair. This is a great idea. I swear he's came up with some really good ideas in the past. Cool cat. But you see here, wind up. Frank can now attack early by moving during his wind up. Wind up deals full damage while cancelling does less. I think this is a good idea. I'm not too sure about this bar, but I don't know. That is a good idea, because the problem is with Frank, sometimes you actually want to cancel the attack, especially if you know that there's like, I don't know, a Shelly super coming, or a Lou super, or just something, the heavy damage that's going to cancel your attack. You might want to kind of cancel your attack yourself so you can get out of there and dodge a little bit easier. It's a good idea, but also some Mortis ones as well. But of course, we're talking about Frank. So that's pretty much going to be it for today's video. Let me know down in the comment section below how you think Frank's going to rework. I think, my personal opinion in terms of Frank, I would just like exactly what this post said, but they of course need to change. I think they're just reducing delay. I think it's as simple as that with Frank. But for them to announce them to be a rework, I think there's going to be more to it, but I just can't really put my finger on it. Again, just reducing the delay by a couple of point seconds, find the sweet spot, but also, you know, maybe rework the sponge star power because it is just a better star power, giving a brawler extra HP. It makes sense for Frank, but at the same time, it is a bit flawed. I think reducing the delay on the super, on the main attack, nerf his HP a little bit, maybe nerf his damage or something if he's overtuned. I think with a rework with a brawler like Frank, you got to be careful. You got to be ready to emergency nerf this brawler because he could literally be broken if the rework is too strong. Let me know down in the comment section below how you would rework Frank. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.